Today is Tuesday, September 3rd, and I'm just wondering what we learned from the first big weekend of college football last weekend.
And now, a word from our title sponsor.
Are all financial advisors fiduciaries? Fewer than you think. Not knowing could reduce your lifestyle. Hi, I'm Mitch Kramer, founder and CEO of Fluent Financial. A fiduciary is a regulatory term to reduce conflicts of interest in wealth management. A fiduciary always works in your best interest. A non-fiduciary advisor might put their compensation or company ahead of yours. At Fluent Financial, we are certified financial planners acting as fiduciary advisors. To learn more, go to fluentfinancial.com or Fluent Financial's YouTube channel.
Star Power Smart Home Solutions, where cutting-edge technology meets effortless living. Control your entire home with just a tap on your smartphone. Adjust the lights, set the perfect temperature, and ensure your home is secure, all from the palm of your hand. Star Power has the experts that will transform your house into a secure, smart home. Experience the ultimate solution in comfort and security for your family. Get started at GetStarPower.com. Star Power, where innovation meets home.
For more than 3 decades, Bob's Steak and Chop House has remained an icon of DFW restaurants. Why? Well, maybe it's because of Bob. He's fanatical about cleanliness and friendliness, and his food, oh my Lord, his food. If you've been there, you know about it. If you haven't been there, you should know about it. The original Bob welcomes you at either of his 2 locations, Bob's on Lemon Avenue or the sparkling new Bob's at Craig Ranch, McKinney. There may be no better time for reaction and overreaction than after the first week of games in college football, because all you got to go on is that one game. Okay, so your team debuts and just trucks somebody. Well, you're in the here we go category. Now, your good team faced a shaky team, but didn't look very good in winning. Well, you're in the should we be worried class? And then there's the I thought we had a pretty good team, and then I saw them in game 1. There are a handful of teams in that category also. What we'll do is look at some lots of national good programs, and the locals, and see where they fit on the reaction-overreaction scale. Now, before we start, there's a little more room for error this year because 12 teams are going to go in the playoffs. Unlike last year, when only 4 went and boy, 1 loss could knock you out. This year, you do have a little more room for error. For instance, the team that finishes 3rd in the SEC, they're almost certainly going to get a bid to the playoffs. Okay, why don't we run them all down? Nationals, locals, we start with the here we go programs. Texas. They just demolished Colorado State. Now, Colorado State is not all that good a football team, but that win was surgical. And both Texas quarterbacks, Ewers and Manning, came in and performed very, very well. Next up, a matchup at Michigan. Next, Georgia. They look like the number 1 team in the nation. How does Georgia lose like 9 or 10 guys to the NFL and come back and look just as strong, if not stronger? That was a wipeout of Clemson. Next, Notre Dame. They posted an important win on opening weekend. They beat the Aggies. Now, Notre Dame was a small underdog. Now, and it wasn't just the way they beat Texas A&M. Their quarterback, Riley Leonard, the transfer from Duke, looks like he's going to be solid. And Oh, that defense for Coach Marcus Freeman. Notre Dame has one big W in that column. Next, Ohio State. Well, I don't know how much you can learn from the thrashing of Akron. I mean, Akron's Akron, for heaven's sakes. Now, Ohio State looked terrific, but there are way better teams down the road on the Ohio State schedule than pathetic Akron. Next, Penn State. I put them in this category because the win at West Virginia is a good one. Morgantown's not an easy place to play, and while West Virginia isn't a high-quality football team, they're not bad. And Penn State won this game by 22, and their quarterback, Drew Alter, who had some ups and downs last year, had a very much up first game of the season. Oklahoma. They beat Temple 51-3. Now, Temple, I think, for comparison's sake, is a little better foe than Akron. Ohio State destroyed Akron. Oklahoma destroyed Temple. We'll learn more about Oklahoma down the road, but that first one was easy. And finally, let's put Nebraska in this category. This is a critical year for Coach Matt Rule. His start at Nebraska hasn't been what the Cornhusker faithful want it to be. And while the win on opening weekend was only against UTEP, UTEP, you take 'em points. They're not a very good football team. But Nebraska looked dominant the entire game. Now let's go to the locals. Okay, first, North Texas. Well, that's a good opening weekend win on the road as an underdog at South Alabama, and the transfer quarterback Morris looked like he can play there. Next, SMU. This wasn't actually opening weekend. They opened the week before in scraping by Nevada, and this week caught a terribly outmanned Houston Christian team, and SMU treated them, let's just say, it wasn't a very Christian manner what SMU did to them. So we're still a little bit, we don't know that much about SMU, but at least they're not lamenting a loss in these first two games, and on they go to what they believe and hope will be a solid bowl season. And finally, TCU. Well, there may be a tiny alarm bell here. Now, they did win, but there may be a tiny alarm bell. Stanford's not a very good football team. And TCU, quite honestly, was life and death to beat them. But at least they beat them. And there's stuff to learn from that game for TCU. Okay, on we go to the should we be worrying teams? Michigan. Big home favorite against Fresno State. Now, Fresno's a better program than, let's say, Akron or Temple, but Michigan staggered around. Michigan scored only 13 points the first 3 quarters against Fresno. They then woke up in the fourth quarter and won the game, but that doesn't erase the memory of that Michigan team that struggled the first 3 quarters of that game. And they better get their ship right because Texas comes calling this weekend. Next, Oregon. They played Idaho. We're used to seeing Oregon 66, Idaho 7. Not this weekend. Oregon needed a late touchdown to put this game away and win by 10. Now, whether that should set off alarm bells in Oregon, don't know. But that was an uncharacteristically close football game. And I'm sure amongst Oregon fans, that causes some worry. And, let's go to Texas Tech. Now, they won the football game, but it was 52-51 over Abilene Christian in overtime. And Abilene Christian was going for a 2-point conversion that would have won the game and sprung this massive upset. There are things to fix in Lubbock, and Coach Joey McGuire knows it. That should have been easy, and it definitely wasn't easy. Finally, let's go to the, I think we're in trouble teams. Clemson, wiped out by Georgia. Clemson's coach Dabo Swinney does not like to participate in the transfer portal. That is, unlike other schools who go out and get 10 or 15 new players who transfer from other schools. Dabo's like above that. Well, he may not be above that anymore. Georgia wiped the floor with Clemson. And Dabo may want to consider start taking some of those transfers to his program, because if results like that keep happening, it'll be Dabo Swinney who gets transferred out of Clemson. But the hottest seat in college football and coaching belongs to Billy Napier in Florida. Florida, proud, super contender in the SEC. Well, that's their history anyway. This Florida team, the last 2 years, has gone 11-14. That's got to have them very, very worried in Florida. And this Florida team opened the season getting skunked by Miami. I don't know, quite honestly, if results like this keep happening. Oh, he doesn't have to lose every week, believe me. He can win some. But I don't know if Coach Napier is going to be able to finish the season with the kind of performances Florida's been putting on the field the last 2 now plus years. And finally, there's Texas A&M. Okay, losing to number 12 Notre Dame is no crime at all. No crime. Notre Dame's pretty good. What is criminal is that offense. A&M offense looked like it was just wandering around. It looked like they just met each other in the tunnel coming out for the game. They did nothing substantial offensively. Now, as we said, Notre Dame's coach, Marcus Freeman, is known for his defense. But A&M's offense did not look good at all. And down the road for A&M in the SEC, there are a lot more good teams waiting on their schedule. A&M fired Jimbo because he couldn't get it done. They paid him millions to go away. And A&M is expecting that this A&M team won't look like the Jimbo teams of the last few years.
Today's episode brought to you by Fluent Financial, Retire Sooner, Better Lifestyle, by Star Power, Love Where You Live, and by Bob's Steak and Chop House.
Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoy our episodes, please hit follow, and a fresh new podcast will be delivered to you every weekday. And should you know a friend or friends who might like our work, please share it with them. Also, we'd love your questions and comments. We do a question and answer session every 2 to 3 weeks on the podcast. Send us your thoughts on X, that used to be Twitter, to @Norm's Clubhouse. That's @Norm's Clubhouse. Just Wondering's executive producer and sometime on-air contributor is my wife, Mary Dans. Just Wondering's produced by Mike Mattern and technically directed by Tim Ham of Van Stream Sports. I'm Norm Hitzges, And every day, I'll be just wondering about something.
And I'm Mary Hitchkus, and I'm just wondering too.